Let me tell you about 5 things that quietly destroy your value in a man's eyes, and why so much of what you've been taught about keeping his interest is actually doing the opposite. There are 5 very specific behaviors most women believe make them more attractive, more lovable, and more worthy of commitment. But here is the hard truth most people avoid. These exact behaviors are often the reason he slowly loses respect for you, loses attraction, and eventually loses interest completely. I'm talking about actions that come from good intentions. You think you're being a good woman, a caring partner, someone any man would be lucky to choose. But inside his mind, these actions send a very different message. They tell him that your value is low, that your attention is easy to get, that you don't fully recognize your own worth. And once a man sees you this way, changing that perception becomes incredibly difficult. Most women grow up believing that love means sacrifice. It means being available, flexible, and constantly proving how much you care through what you do. You were taught that if you give enough, support enough, and understand enough, love will naturally follow. But what no one explains is that the behaviors you think show your value are often the same behaviors that make you invisible to him. That's because male psychology doesn't work the way we've been conditioned to believe. Men don't fall deeply in love with the woman who tries the hardest. They fall in love with the woman who makes them feel like they need to step up, like they need to earn her presence. The difference between those 2 women has nothing to do with playing games or manipulating emotions. It comes down to understanding desire, polarity, and the energy that creates real attraction versus the energy that slowly drains it away. Attraction doesn't disappear all at once. It fades quietly. One day he doesn't feel excitement. Another day the passion feels weaker, and eventually he looks at you and feels nothing. Not anger, not frustration, just emptiness where desire used to live. That's why this matters. That's why it's so important to understand the subtle behaviors that reduce your value in his eyes, even when your intentions are pure. High-value energy is not about how much you do for a man, it's about who you become when you're with him. And if you're tired of giving your whole heart and receiving crumbs, if you're exhausted from trying to prove your worth instead of simply owning it, then stay with me. What you're about to understand can shift you from being the woman he settles for to the woman he cannot imagine losing. Before we go deeper, you need to understand something essential about how attraction truly works, because most of what society teaches women about keeping a man interested is backwards. You're told that love is about compromise, sacrifice, and putting his needs first. You're told that if you are nurturing enough, supportive enough, patient enough, he will naturally choose you. But masculine psychology doesn't operate that way. Men are wired to pursue what feels valuable, rare, and not fully guaranteed. Not impossible to reach, but not handed to them either. It's the same instinct that drives a man to work harder for a promotion he's unsure he'll get, or save for something he truly wants, or chase a goal that challenges him. When something comes too easily, when no effort is required, when the outcome feels certain, the masculine mind loses interest. Not because men are cruel or shallow, but because desire needs contrast, it needs effort, it needs a sense of earning. That's why the nice girl so often gets overlooked. Not because kindness is unattractive, but because kindness without boundaries turns invisible. Giving without limits becomes expected. Availability without standards becomes boring. You stop standing out. You become background noise in his life. Pleasant, comforting, familiar, but not deeply compelling. Here's a truth that can completely change how you show up in relationships. Your value is not measured by how much you give. It's measured by how he feels when he's around you. Does he feel inspired to be better? Does he feel grateful for your presence? Does he feel like your time and attention are something he has to earn? Or does he feel like he already has you no matter what effort he puts in? The most magnetic women understand that attraction is about energy, not effort. It's about creating an emotional experience where he feels more alive, more driven, more masculine simply by being near you. That energy doesn't come from overgiving or overextending yourself. It comes from being grounded in who you are. It comes from having a full life, clear standards, and a strong sense of self-worth. But this is where many women misunderstand the idea of being high value. They think it means being cold, distant, or hard to get. So they start playing games, holding back affection, or creating drama to appear mysterious. That doesn't work either. That approach is still centered on him. It's still about trying to control his feelings instead of being so secure in yourself that his reactions don't control you. True high-value energy is calm, it's steady, it doesn't chase and it doesn't run away. It doesn't beg for attention or withhold it out of fear. It simply exists fully and confidently, and it invites the right man to rise up and meet it. When you embody that energy, you don't have to worry about losing his interest. A man who is meant for you will feel naturally motivated to keep earning your respect, your time, and your emotional investment. One of the most damaging behaviors, and one that looks loving on the surface, is being constantly available. You answer the moment he texts, you drop plans when he wants to see you, you adjust your entire schedule around his needs, you believe you're being supportive and caring. But here's what's happening beneath the surface. Constant availability creates predictability, and predictability slowly kills desire. Think about it honestly. Have you ever valued something more because you knew it was always there waiting for you? Usually it's the opposite. We cherish what we have to wait for, work for, and earn. When you are always available, you are telling him that nothing else in your life matters as much as him. Your time, your energy, and your attention are always on standby. While that might sound romantic, it often comes across as a lack of self-respect. And men don't respond to self-abandonment with attraction. They respond to it with comfort at best and indifference at worst. Not because they are heartless, but because things that are always available feel convenient, not valuable. And convenience does not create desire. What many women fail to realize is that constant availability leaves no space for longing. There is no room for him to miss you, no chance for anticipation to build, no emotional tension. Everything becomes flat and predictable. And while emotional safety is important, attraction also needs contrast. It needs moments of absence. It needs space to breathe. Without that, the spark fades quietly, even if neither of you can explain why. The woman who keeps a sense of unavailability isn't playing games or trying to be hard to get. She's simply living her life. She has friends, interests, goals, and daily routines that don't revolve around one man. She stays genuinely busy with things that matter to her, and because of that, when she does make time for him, it feels meaningful. It feels intentional. It feels chosen, not automatic. This is why men often pull back when a woman becomes too available too fast. It's not that they suddenly stop liking her. It's that the pursuit ends too quickly. The challenge disappears. They get full access to her attention without having to earn it. And once that happens, their instinct looks for the next challenge, the next goal, the next mountain to climb. But here's the beautiful part. When you protect your own life, when you're selective with your time, when he has to put in some effort to see you, he starts to link you with feelings of excitement, anticipation, and reward. Every moment of your attention feels earned. Every time you agree to see him feels like a small win. That's the real difference between being chosen and being convenient. And if you want to be more than just convenient, you have to start treating your time like the valuable resource it truly is. The second behavior that slowly destroys your value comes from deep emotional wounds, but shows up as everyday anxiety, constantly seeking validation and reassurance. It sounds like this: "Are we okay? Do you still like me? Why didn't you text back?" Are you upset with me? You tell yourself you're just trying to understand where you stand, but what you're actually doing is asking him to regulate your emotions for you. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Every time you ask for reassurance, you're showing that you don't feel secure in your own worth. You're silently saying, I need you to prove that I'm valuable because I don't fully believe it myself. And that energy becomes exhausting for any man to be around. Not because men don't care or don't want to support their partner, but because constant reassurance turns them from lovers into emotional caretakers. When you keep asking for validation, the relationship slowly shifts. It stops being about connection and enjoyment and starts being about managing your insecurities. Conversations turn into emotional checkups. Silence turns into panic. Small changes in his tone or energy become proof that something is wrong. Over time, he begins to associate being with you not with peace or desire, but with stress, pressure, and emotional work. The problem with constant reassurance is that it never actually satisfies you. You can be told you're loved, wanted, and valued 100 times, but if you don't believe it inside, you'll need to hear it one more time, and then one more after that. The emptiness isn't outside of you, it's within you, and no amount of external validation can heal an internal wound that hasn't been addressed. Men are naturally drawn to women who are emotionally steady, who can self-soothe, who don't need non-stop proof that they're worthy of love. They want to feel that a woman is with them because she wants to be, not because she's afraid to be alone. There's a huge difference between choosing someone from wholeness and clinging to someone from fear. High-value women don't walk around asking, "Do you still want me?" They carry an energy that makes that question unnecessary. They're rooted in their own worth, so they don't need constant confirmation from anyone else. If something feels off in the relationship, they don't panic or demand reassurance. They observe, they listen, they allow space for the truth to surface on its own. This doesn't mean you can never ask for clarity or express concerns. It means there's a difference between a calm, confident check-in and an anxious, emotional spiral. One comes from inner strength, the other comes from fear. And when you can sit with uncertainty without needing someone else to calm you down, you become magnetic. Men feel drawn to your stability, your grounded nature, and your inner peace. The third behavior that quietly kills your value is one of the most dangerous because it looks like love but creates resentment, making him the center of your entire world. It usually starts harmlessly. You meet someone you really like, you're excited, you want to spend time together, but slowly your life begins to orbit around his schedule, his moods, and his availability. You cancel plans with friends just to see him. You bend your goals to fit his lifestyle. You stop doing the things that once made you feel alive because he's not interested in them. You think you're showing how much he means to you, but what you're actually communicating is that your life had no direction before him, that you don't have much going on without him, that you're willing to abandon yourself to keep his attention. Some men may enjoy this at first, but it always leads to a loss of respect and attraction. Men don't want to be the center of your universe. They want to be an important part of a life that's already full and meaningful. When you make him your whole world, you become flat and one-dimensional. You lose the qualities that attracted him in the first place. Your independence, your passion, your unique energy. You stop being the woman he chose and slowly turn into someone waiting for him to give her meaning. What most women don't realize is this: the most attractive thing about you isn't how much you need him, it's how complete you are without him. When a man meets a woman with her own interests, friendships, goals, and joy that don't depend on him, he feels curious. He wants to step into that rich, full life. But when he becomes your only source of happiness, it stops feeling like a gift and starts feeling like pressure. This is why men often pull away when women drop everything for them. It's not that they don't appreciate the effort, it's that they lose respect for someone who doesn't protect her own life. They start questioning her standards, her self-worth, and her ability to be a strong partner. The woman who keeps her identity inside a relationship is far more attractive than the woman who disappears into it. She brings stories, energy, and experiences from her own world. She doesn't just mirror his interests. She adds her own perspective, her own dreams, her own direction. When your life stays full and alive, you don't just become more appealing to him. You become more connected to yourself. And ironically, by not making him the center of everything, you create room for him to want to move closer. The fourth behavior that destroys your value is one that kind-hearted women fall into because they believe it shows love, over-functioning in the relationship. This is usually the moment when you start doing his emotional work for him. You begin managing his responsibilities, fixing his problems, and anticipating his needs before he even says them out loud. In your mind, you think you're being helpful, supportive, and loving. You believe you're showing care, but what you're actually doing is slowly training him to become passive while you carry the weight of everything. Overfunctioning often looks like always being the one who plans the dates, initiates the hard conversations, remembers important events, smooths over conflicts, and makes most of the decisions. Without realizing it, you turn into his project manager, his emotional support system, his problem solver, his caretaker, his mother, everything except his equal partner. And while he may enjoy the comfort and convenience of this dynamic, he will never fully respect someone who consistently does more work in his life than he does himself. Here's the psychology behind why this slowly kills attraction. When you overfunction, you take away his chance to show up for you. You fix problems before he even becomes aware of them. You manage emotions before he has the space to process them on his own. You take responsibility for outcomes that should have been shared between you. Over time, he becomes lazy in the relationship, not because he's a bad person, but because he doesn't have to be active. You're handling everything. Men need to feel useful. They need to feel capable. They need to feel like they can contribute in a meaningful way. When you overfunction, the unspoken message you send is that you don't trust him to handle his own life, that you don't believe he can rise to challenges, and that you see yourself as more capable than he is. That dynamic quietly destroys the polarity that creates attraction. You slip into the masculine role of doing and managing, while he drifts into the feminine role of receiving and depending on your care. Many women justify this behavior by telling themselves they're just being loving or just being helpful, but there is a big difference between supporting someone and enabling them. Support helps someone grow stronger. Enabling keeps them stuck and dependent. When you regularly do things for a man that he should be doing for himself, you're not helping him grow, you're actually holding him back. High-value women understand that their role is not to fix, manage, or improve a man. Their role is to be an inspiring presence that motivates him to want to show up as a better version of himself. They allow men to struggle with their own challenges, make their own choices, and learn from their own mistakes. They offer support when it's asked for, but they don't take control. This doesn't mean you stop being caring or kind. It means you create clear boundaries around what belongs to you and what belongs to him. You let him deal with his own work stress, his family issues, and his emotional processing. You're there beside him, but you're not there to rescue him from his own life. When you stop over-functioning, something powerful begins to happen. He is forced to step up. He has to become more present, more engaged, and more invested, because if he doesn't, things won't move forward, problems won't get solved, responsibilities won't disappear just because you're no longer carrying them. Slowly, he starts taking ownership of his role in the relationship and in his own life. And that ownership is what builds respect. The final behavior that quietly destroys your value is subtle, but it may be the most dangerous of all: losing yourself just to keep the peace. This happens when you start compromising your values, silencing your opinions, avoiding uncomfortable conversations, and shaping yourself into who you think he wants you to be. You ignore that inner voice that says something feels off because you're afraid that speaking up will cause conflict or push him away. You laugh at jokes that don't sit right with you. You agree with opinions you don't truly share. You go along with plans you don't enjoy. You tolerate behaviors that cross your boundaries. You tell yourself you're being easygoing, flexible, and low maintenance. But in reality, you're slowly erasing yourself, and a real relationship cannot be built with someone who never gets to know who you truly are. When you lose yourself to avoid conflict, several things start to happen. First, resentment builds quietly. Every time you stay silent, every time you compromise something that matters to you, a small amount of anger gets stored away. Over time, that anger grows. Eventually, it comes out in moments that seem out of proportion. You react strongly to small situations because you've been swallowing big ones for far too long. Second, he slowly loses respect for you. Even if he can't consciously explain why, he notices when you don't stand for anything, when you don't have your own opinions, and when you're always agreeable. While that may feel peaceful in the short term, it's not attractive in the long run. Men are naturally drawn to women who know who they are and aren't afraid to express it. Third, you lose your sense of self. You become so focused on being what you think he wants that you forget what you actually want. You lose touch with your desires, your goals, and your values. And ironically, in trying to be more lovable, you become less interesting, less authentic, and less yourself. The woman who loses herself to keep the peace believes she's being loving, but she's actually being dishonest. She's presenting a version of herself that isn't real, then wondering why the relationship feels empty or unfulfilling. She expects him to love someone he never truly met because she never allowed him to see her fully. High-value women understand that real love requires honesty. They know that if they have to hide parts of themselves to keep someone, then that person isn't truly choosing them. They're choosing a performance. And performances are exhausting to maintain and impossible to sustain long-term. This doesn't mean you need to be aggressive or constantly argumentative. It simply means you choose authenticity, you express your opinions, you share your preferences, you speak your concerns, you set clear boundaries. You allow him to see all of you, not just the easy parts, but also the complicated ones, the light and the shadow. Because only when someone sees all of you can they truly choose all of you. When you stop losing yourself just to keep the peace, you may realize that some people aren't compatible with the real you, and that's not a failure. It's clarity. It's far better to be alone and authentic than to be partnered and invisible. The right person will value your depth, your complexity, and your willingness to be real, even when it's uncomfortable. If you recognize yourself in any of these patterns, pause for a moment, take a breath. This isn't about shame or blaming yourself, it's about awareness, because awareness is always the first step toward change. Most women fall into these habits not because they're weak or needy, but because they were taught that this is what love looks like. That love means giving everything, being everything, and doing everything. But healthy love doesn't ask you to shrink yourself. It doesn't require you to abandon your identity, silence your voice, or disappear to be accepted. Real love sees your value and rises to meet it. It doesn't demand that you prove your worth through constant availability, endless reassurance, overfunctioning, people-pleasing, or self-abandonment. High-value women don't chase relationships. They attract them, not by being perfect, but by being whole. Not by giving everything, but by giving intentionally. Not by avoiding conflict, but by staying true to themselves even when it feels uncomfortable. They understand that the right man won't run from their standards, boundaries, or authenticity. He will be drawn toward them. So let this be your reminder. You are valuable not because of what you do for others, but because of who you are. Your worth is not negotiable. Your standards are not suggestions. Your boundaries are not optional. And your authentic self is not something you need to hide, soften, or change for anyone's approval. The world needs more women who remember this truth and live from it. Women who know their value and aren't afraid to embody it. Women who understand that real love doesn't require them to disappear, but to show up more fully than they ever have before.